going to continue talking about subtraction. It's important that you have problem sets 19 and 20 down really well before you do these, because the problems get a little more complicated. But we're using the definition of subtraction. We always take the subtraction, that's a minus, and we write it as plus the opposite of the second one, right? This is called subtractive form, this is called additive form. So let me give you a few to try. Go ahead and try these two. Hit the pause button and work these two problems. We'll go over it in just a minute. Okay, in that first one, the minus sign's right there. You changed to plus and negative, so the answer should have been negative 14. Now the second one is very subtle. This is a minus sign, right? This is not a minus sign. This is a negative sign. So this minus sign becomes plus and negative. But this negative 9 stays negative 9. So that this is technically, this is what you'd get if you just change the minus sign to plus and negative. Get rid of the double negative and your final answer is 24. Now eventually we may actually skip that step. Talk to your teacher in terms of, but for now let's keep writing this. Alright, try these two. Hit the pause button again and try these two. Okay, in that first one there's the minus sign. So it becomes negative 3 plus negative, I should say negative 3y plus negative y. Your answer should have been negative 4y. Second one, we change all the minus signs to plus and negative. There's a minus sign there and there. It becomes this. Notice this is like a problem off problem set 18 now. Alright? Since you can't combine these, you got to use the distributive law. Remember, that's a negative 1 that's multiplying. You should have gotten this. And then when you combine like terms, you get this. You get 8w plus negative 7, which is fine. Now the book might write it as 8w minus 7, and in Math 80 usually they don't leave their answer as plus and negative. They'll write it as a subtraction problem. Either way it's fine. In my class, again, talk to your instructor about it, how your teacher wants you to write the answers. Okay, so let's keep on going with these kinds of problems. I just want to warn you though, the problems get harder, so go through all the steps here, learn the basics really well, and then down the road you can start to abbreviate a little bit. Okay, so that's a minus sign, right? And that's a minus sign. So we replace those minus signs. This becomes this minus sign becomes plus and negative. This stays negative 3m, and this becomes plus negative m. Get rid of the double negative. We're going to do that for a few more times. Then when you combine the m's, you get 2m. I get negative 9 plus 2m. By the way, the book might write it like that. Can you see why these two are equal? Why this and this are the same answer, even though they might not look the same to you? Go ahead, hit the pause button and play around with that until you convince yourself why these two are equal. And here's a hint. What you might want to do is start with this answer and change to additive form. Okay? Anyway, but these two are both okay answers in my class. Let's go over here. Change to additive form, that's a minus. Another good trick or habit we've talked about is reading the problem back. 4 times the quantity 1 minus z, minus 2 times the quantity 3z plus 5. That's a minus sign, that's a minus sign. Just change to additive form. Don't do too many steps at once. And then use the distributive law carefully. We get this. If I'm going too fast for you, hit that pause button. And we got a negative 10z plus negative 6, which might also be written as negative 10z minus 6. Okay, let's keep on going. Like I said, these problems get more involved, and you're very encouraged to hit the pause button at any time and try these on your own. Don't wait for me. Go ahead and work these on your own, and then you can see the solution. You'll learn more that way. So when you read this, well, let's just look at this problem for a second. The instructions would be simplify, right? And you see 2 is multiplying this quantity. What we're going to do is work inside the parentheses. Let's change all the minus signs to additive form. So there's a minus sign. It becomes plus and negative. Now this is minus a negative. We've done that a lot now. If you've done it a lot of times, you understand why when you subtract a negative, you're adding a positive. Okay? So I'm skipping a step there. This minus becomes plus a negative 7. Then when you combine the x's, you should have gotten negative 2x inside the parentheses. Plus negative 4. Then we use the distributive law, final answer, well, we get negative 4x plus negative 8. The book might write as negative 4x minus 8. Okay, over here now, what would be a good start here? How about simplifying inside the parentheses? This is not a minus sign. There's 3 minus signs, here, here, and here. Change to additive form. you get this. Add like terms, you add the m's together, and you add the numbers together, and you get this. Use the distributive law, your final answer is 4m plus 9. Okay, I'll do a few more, then I'll give you some to try. How about that? These problems get rather involved, so you got to really use good algebra skills here. We're going to change this minus sign to plus or negative, this minus sign to plus or negative, and same with this one and this one. That's all we're going to do. So we get this. Now inside these parentheses, you get negative 8 plus negative 6 plus negative 3. If you add up all those negatives, that would be a good step to do next. Let's just combine those three negative numbers and get negative 17, right? So you have negative 17 plus the opposite of negative 17. What is the opposite of negative 17? Isn't that just 0? It's 17, but what is negative 17 plus 17? It's just 0, right? And what's the opposite of 0? It's just 0. So the answer is negative 8ab. Alright, one more and I'll give you a bunch to try. How about that? This one, we're going to change this minus sign to plus or negative, and this minus sign to plus or negative, and this one too. We get this. Use the distributive law. There's a negative one that's multiplying here, negative one that's multiplying there. We get this. Add all the y's together, I get negative 3y plus 6. That's my final answer. Or, like I said, the book might write it like this. You can convince yourself why these two are true if you just change this one to additive form and use the commutative law. You can show these two are equal. But you just got to get used to that. Okay, so I'm going to give you something to try. Hit the pause button. Try these. We'll go over them in just a minute. Okay, on the first one, did you get 13? You change this to plus or negative, this to plus or negative, and when you simplify, you should have gotten 13. This one, when you change the additive form, you get this. And then when you distribute carefully, you get this. And then when you combine, you can combine the xy's, and that's it. Notice, you can't combine the x's or the y's, but just the xy's. You should have gotten this. You should have gotten 3xy plus 8x minus 2y. Okay, let's do a few more. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have you do these. I'm not going to go through them. I'm just going to give you the solutions, okay? So go ahead, hit the pause button, work these problems out, and then I'll give you the solution in just a minute. Okay, on that first one, they're a little sneaky. When you change the additive form, you get plus and negative, right? And here, this is kind of subtle. What does this mean? Plus quantity 2a plus 3. Those parentheses really aren't serving any purpose. You could think of it as 1 times 2a plus 3, in which case if you distribute the 1, you can just drop the parentheses. Anyway, your final answer should have been 4a. This one, you change the additive form, and when you distribute the negative, this is a good first step, right? You'd work inside these curly parentheses. Since you can't add the x and the 1, you would distribute the negative 3 carefully. You get this. Then combine like terms. Then you would distribute this negative 1. Your final answer should have been x. Okay, one more round. Let's do one more round, and then that'll be it. Hit the pause button, and like I said, I'll just give you the solutions on these, and you can check yourself. How about that? Okay, the first one you should have gotten negative 3. And a good first step would have been to change all the minuses to plus a negative, right? That'd be a good first step. Combine inside the brackets. Use the distributive law carefully, and the m's cancel, I believe. Anyway, check that one. And here's the last one. This one, let's see. This one you would. This is where you really have to slow down. Change all the minus signs to additive form. That's a minus sign. That's a minus sign. That's a minus sign. Don't do anything else. Then you'd work inside the innermost parentheses, but since those aren't like terms, the first step you would do would be to multiply the negative 2 by each of them, right? You do that. You write the whole problem down, but just do that one step. And when you do that, inside the square brackets, you should have added the x's together and gotten negative x plus 6 inside the square brackets. You see how it gets easier as you go? It's a little bit easier. Anyway, when you continue that, your final answer should have been negative 14x plus 48. All right, we're out of here. See you next time.